So we have been asked to tell you a bit more about Barking and Dagenham's transformation over the past few years and the important lessons we have learned along the way. Transformation is the right word because in the past 15 years, we in Barking and Dagenham have faced a range of challenges, and as always, we have adapted and transformed in order to address those challenges. By the mid-2000s, the borough's local economy had completely changed with the loss of thousands of jobs from the Ford's plant in Dagenham. This was deindustrialization at its worst. As a result, people felt disconnected from the economy, from the community, and from democracy. In 2006, we came to a head with the election of 12 BNP councillors on the council out of 13 candidates. If more had stood, they would have taken control of the council. The rise of the far right locally gave many of us a fright. It shocked us and made us realize how much change we needed to bring about if we were going to genuinely help and win back the trust of the community. We spent the next 4 years learning to listen again, reconnecting with the community, understanding what was important and how we could work together. In 2010, I was elected to the council and we beat the BNP in both the national and local elections. This experience has shaped our approach to transformation over the past 10 years. When austerity hit, we knew that traditional salami slicing wouldn't work. So we had heard from the community and understood that they expected so much more. We knew that inequality and poverty were already far too present in Barking and Dagenham, and we knew that we had massive potential both in terms of the community and in terms of growth. So instead of taking the traditional approach, we worked with the community to shape our own future. Everything we have done in the years since has been guided by the understanding that we could achieve nothing working alone, and we have to work in partnership with the community. And by the understanding that we had to think and act radically if we are going to meet the scale of the challenge facing us. So 10 years on Barking and Dagenham is a new kind of council with a new relationship with its residents. The journey never ends and we still have a long way to go, but we believe we have learned a lot about local government, how local government can transform to better empower the community and meet the challenges of the 2020s. That is what we look forward to talking to you about at the conference, and I will now hand over to Mark Tyson to explain a bit more about the council's transformation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Tyson. I'm the Council's Director of Policy and Participation, and in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so I'm going to talk you through the Council's transformation journey over the last few years that led us to win the IESE award for Council of the Year. It starts, I think, with the challenges that was facing the Council back in the last few years. And a recognition at the outset that Barking and Dagenham's position relative to the rest of London on a number of indicators was really showing just the extent of the issues, the barriers being faced by our communities. And we use this graph a lot to kind of keep the conversation going about how well we're doing across a range of indicators. It comes up each year at our State of the Borough conference. But that wasn't the only challenge, of course. Just like any other local authority, we were facing financial challenges and quite significant ones. And the budget gap was projected to grow to £63 million by 2020-21 if we didn't act on it. So we had both a financial challenge, just like other local authorities, but also those challenges in the community that our residents needed us to step up and help them with. So we started out by listening. So we got in a group of experts in economic development. We set it up as a growth commission, and they reported back to us with a whole series of recommendations about how to get the best out of the opportunities of Barking and Dagenham's geographic location and the availability of land, and the economic potential of our people, and those very much form the basis of the strategies that we've implemented since then, including under the strap line of London's greatest opportunity, which I think we're showing that we were right to form that strap line. The chief executive, relatively new in post at the time, set about a whole listening exercise with staff, talked to hundreds of staff members in all sorts of different forms, who told him their views on how this organisation could improve. And about the same time we had a local government association peer challenge, and that was also invaluable for, again, playing back messages to us. The key message being that this organisation would not sustain if we were to continue just doing incremental bits of change along the way. We needed something quite bold and quite radical in order to be able to put the organisation on a sound financial footing, whilst also dealing with those challenges for our community, and taking advantage of the opportunities that we had. Around about that time as well, we engaged something like 3,000 people across the borough in talking to us about the borough they wanted to see. That then got distilled into a sort of 30-year vision. We call it the Borough Manifesto, a non-political document, but it captures that sense of ambition and very much addresses those issues that were on the first slide, that are really holding back our residents. And again, that comes up at each State of the Borough conference, and we review where we're at with it. But for the council, the transformation plan we badged under the title Ambition 2020. As you see, we badged it as we all have a part to play, very much because it came out of those discussions with staff. Over 30 major transformation programmes were established. 450 staff took the opportunity of voluntary redundancy, and very much that was honestly presented as this organisation will be a very different place in 4 years' time. Really want you on the journey, but if you don't want to be on that journey, if you don't think it's going to work for you, or it sounds like it's the right sort of place for you, then there's an option for you, and we'll just be quite open about that. And again, that honesty at the outset really played well in getting staff to buy into the journey. 715 staff transferred into wholly owned companies, I'll talk about in a minute, and 380 were transferred out into the leisure contract, and we put out our leisure centres to a non-profit provider. Overall, the programme delivered £49 million of savings and put us in the good position to be able to continue to manage the additional savings requirements that remained and continue to emerge. So over the course of the programme, to put that 4-year programme into financial context, the total savings there were £111 million cumulative against a £24.8 million capital investment. And that's the plan that we went on, and that led us to a new kind of council, as we refer to it, structure. And as you can see, it's not a traditional hierarchical departmental structure. Of course, we have one of those for pay and ration purposes, but very much how we want to run as an organisation is on a kind of collaborative leadership principles and on a commissioning approach. So to take you on a little tour around the diagram, so at the top, the blue boxes, we have our wholly owned companies. So we've got a private sector landlord operated for social purpose and ensuring that we've got a really robust, affordable housing offer for some of London's poorest communities. We've got Be First, who are ensuring that those houses are getting built. They are a regeneration partner, they run our planning function, and very much looking to really take advantage of Barking and Dagenham's geographic location, but also its availability of land and underdeveloped land and ex-industrial spaces and so on. We've then got companies that run kind of home services, school catering, and cleaning services. That's under a trading partnership, Barking and Dagenham together. We've got a school improvement partnership, and there's even ones there that we've developed since then. So, for example, we've got a district heating company called B&D Energy that we also operate. We've then got, I mentioned the leisure contractor earlier, we have a contract with Elevate, which is a joint venture provider that's just being wound up, and partly, so they ran our IT, our kind of council tax services, revs and bends and so on, and contact centre. Those have all come back in-house now, and very much so we're able to bring them back in-house because we've created the sort of council that could really run them for benefit and get the most out of operating them. And Elevate had done over its 10 years a great job in improving the efficiency of those services. So then we've got the red ones. The red ones here are the internally managed departments, service blocks. So heritage, that's in my part of the world. We've got enforcement services, and then you've got a whole series of clean and green public realm services that are run under, and housing management, which are run under an organisation called My Place, an internal organisation called My Place. We've also got our care and support services, operating divisions around adults and children's, and a single disability service that we created part of this programme. And then we've got community solutions, which is an incredibly important part of the council's setup, where across sort of front doors for children's, adults, housing, welfare, domestic abuse, antisocial behaviour, drug and alcohol support, a whole range of those frontline, first port of call, front door services are all grouped into one organisation. It's structured not by those themes but by life cycles, whether it's universal or targeted or support functions, so that people can get a wraparound support when they come through that front door, and that helps ensure that people's more holistic needs are being met. You see BDT Legal in purple, that's the kind of traded service, but it's obviously our own legal service as well. And then there's the bit right in the middle, which is the core. And the core's role is to oversee, from a commissioning perspective, all of that apparatus to ensure it's delivering for what the strategy our members have set for us, and what residents need. And so the way that functions, if you're a senior leadership director, if you're a commissioner in anything that might look like a department normally, you're actually in the core. And that means that we can properly get people collaborating. So, for example, using the economic muscle of our partners that are under the commissioning influence of our inclusive growth commissioners to help achieve outcomes for disability services around employment for people with learning disabilities, and the intention being that it means that whole apparatus of the council can be deployed to support any one of the outcomes that somebody might be trying to commission. So in terms of the company governance and accountability, we've got an arrangement in place that ensures that the companies are operationally independent of us, but with strategic influence over their activities. So with shareholder agreement, a shareholder panel that members are involved in, and then the key relationship is between commissioners who set a mandate for those companies, which is then translated into the company business plan, and that's the mechanism by which we ensure that those outcomes are being delivered, but with operational independence. And we're talking about relationships because the key one is relationship with residents. One of the absolutely fundamental things we needed to do as an organisation is reset the relationship with our residents, and we've done that in a number of ways which are now a sort of core part of our strategies into the future. So one was to re-establish our relationship with the third sector, and so our infrastructure contract we put out to tender. It was won by an organisation called the BD Collective, and they are are formed as a collective of some of our leading third sector organisations in Barking and Dagenham, which means there's a real sense that we've moved from an organisation that could be a gatekeeper to one that's actually a facilitator, a network builder, and that's forming some really important partnerships with parts of the council around things such as adult social care, debt, and some of the other key issues for our residents. Everyone, every day, we tipped in some money. We got a load of investment from some amazing funding bodies to roll out one of the biggest open participation platforms in the country. The 5 shops and a warehouse full of great kit that people who want to kind of come and participate, do things with each other, for themselves. Some of them turn into businesses, some of them are just opportunities to get involved with other residents. But it's really at the end of the second year evaluation, some amazing kind of early conclusions about developing individual agency in people and really activating them as citizens. And when they're activated as citizens, then we want them to join our Citizens Alliance network, which again is a platform we've created to allow conversations between interested residents about what matters to them in their communities. We might be part of those conversations sometimes, we might not be part of them sometimes, and it really is hopefully going to be a platform as it builds where the conversations are led by residents rather than by us as an organisation. And then finally, thinking about being a more relational council. There's been some amazing work done in our social care services about really listening to people's stories and working with them as individuals and as people with all that complexity about the story they bring, rather than trying to reduce it to packages of service. And we want that to be something that across the whole of the council people are thinking about when they're delivering for residents. And then finally, just to capture our onward journey, so we now have a corporate plan being agreed, which has been agreed, I should say, which we're now delivering based around 3 strategies. So these 3 strategies are guiding all of the council's work, and they are an inclusive growth strategy, so looking very much at an economy that works for everyone, whether it's kind of affordable housing, employment opportunities, apprenticeships, kind of welfare support, all of that. Services that build independence and promote preventive activity rather than reactive and dependency creating services. That said, of course, we want the best in class services for when people really need us, and we have to be there for them to protect and keep them safe. And all of that happening in a borough where people have a say over the way their community runs. They can get involved with their community and have their voice heard, and that's our participation engagement strategy. So that's a quick canter through the transformation journey for the council over these past few years. I hope it's been of interest. Thank you for taking an interest in Barking and Dagenham, and I look forward to the opportunity to answer a few questions at the conference session.